Hello, Gobs, and welcome back to more RPG horror stories. If you don't know who I am the Goblin King. I talk about, play, and review both tabletop RPGs and video game RPGs. If that interests you, go ahead and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into RPG horror stories. You know the idea. These may or may not be real. Whatever, if they aren't, they're good stories, and sometimes they're good. But in any case, they make great stories to give advice on. So let me know in the comments if something seems fishy. I'm just gonna read the horror story, give advice. You know what it is. Let's get into our first RPG horror story. Our first story comes from Lightside Soul, the DM obsessed with traps. What, do we have Freddie Jones on the... Is that the guy from Scooby-Doo's name? Fred Jones, yeah, Fred. Yeah, I'm confident. If I'm confident enough, it's true. Title says it all. My group had a DM that was so trap-happy, it got him banned from ever DMing again. The cast. Trapman, the titular trapped-obsessed DM. Alexander, our human rogue. Bearclaw, our orc barbarian. Trick, our gnome artificer, and yours truly, the dragonborn sorcerer. Traps included a pressure plate trap at the entrance of the first dungeon that sprayed acid on whoever set it off, a rockfall trap that had no visible trigger, a spike trap in a random hallway that leads to a storage room, a pitfall trap we just watched the master of the dungeon run over without slowing or looking down. Of course, these were all in the dungeon, so we just assumed it was how the bad guys set it up. Then we got into town to sell our loot, restock, and all that jazz. We checked into the inn for the night, and Alexander decided to rogue, and snuck out through the town and started casing houses and businesses. He found the general store had a poison dart trap in the handle on the front door, town hall had a swinging axe trap, several homes had traps that could kill a common NPC, and then he got caught by needle traps trying to sneak back into his room. The innkeeper tried to make us pay for an antidote. Bearclaw haggled. At this point, we were annoyed, but willing to keep playing. The point he went too far was in session 3. You see, at this point, we got him pretty good at sussing out his traps, and Trick even managed to disarm and disassemble most of them to sell off the parts. So we were sitting on a decent amount of gold. We decided to buy a small plot of land and build a small keep on it, somewhere to rest between missions and stuff. We paid for the land and called and had it built by workers gained through the connections to the party, members of Bear Cross tribes and Trick's family. We time skipped to the keep being complete. The first night we decided to do some fluff role-playing, just seeing how our characters interacted at rest. I went to the library to do some reading. Pit trap. There was a pit trap after the door to the library. It actually killed me. That's about when I exploded. See, I'm the type of guy that takes a lot to get mad. I can take people setting up traps in their own homes and businesses. But in case you forgot, this keep was not only freshly built, but designed by us, the players. And none of us okayed any traps in the interior. Trapman, of course, tried to justify it, but we all just shut him down by pointing out that we were sick of the traps. So why would we have them in our own home? Why wouldn't the people we paid to build it have warned us about them? Why would the builders put these traps in without asking if we wanted them? When he refused to tell us where these traps in our own home were, we finally just stopped playing. Packed it up, went home, set up a new game with a different member of the group DMing next week. None of us ever joined a game Trapman ran again. Edit to add TLDR. DM puts death traps in recently built player keep, did not disclose them before character died. And holy crap, is this DM just wanting to make... I guess they just want investigation / perception check the game. Because that's what you get when you put traps everywhere. How to make your players never trust again. Now, I have a person in my group. Okay, you are a great player, but they are super paranoid of everything. And could you imagine making your entire party like that? I mean, they will throw rocks at doors and they'll poke sticks in places. I'm like, just a normal door. I'm not a DM that puts traps everywhere. I'll put a trap here or there, but not like every single door and every single square foot of the dungeon is gonna have a trap in it. Why would you do that? This just sounds unfair, just trying to catch your players off guard. Remember guys, DMs have unlimited resources to pull from. You don't only have to do traps, okay? And also, an axe swing in Town Hall? But at least the players did the right thing. They tried to talk to the DM about it. When the DM refused, they just left. Because, no TTRPGs is better than playing in a bad one. So good on them for leaving when they weren't having fun. Remember guys, you don't have to be tied down just because you're playing in a crappy session. Always talk about it. That's what I say all the time. And let's move on to our next story, before I start sounding like a scratchy, broken record. Our next story comes from Connor Clash Nord, the player that made me not want to keep jamming for my original group. Going directly to the point, this is a problem that has been going on for a while now. Even after talking with my player, it seems he will never change his ways of playing, which aren't bad but not compatible with me. Most of the things are probably my fault really for not doing or saying anything when behavior like what he does appear in my games, and I should have probably made more consequences for his actions instead of letting it slide most of the time, which I did most, if not all the time. So this is the story. I meet this player that I will call James for the sake of giving a fake name. I found him after posting an advertisement for my game in an LFG server. He wanted to join and nothing was going wrong, really. Seems like a cool guy to have, and I wasn't wrong with that. He's a really enjoyable person to have around, and during our first sessions, there wasn't any really big problems aside from probably slight moments of main character syndrome that I wasn't taking into consideration at the moment. Also, he wasn't really being disruptive, although kind of stealing the spotlight, not letting other players have their moment to shine. Biggest problem was after his first PC died. It was a tragic moment and I let him have final words. They buried him and it was a really nice moment. No problem there really. Mostly because the focus was on him for good reasons at this point. He was the one dying after all. What came after took me by surprise, which happened a lot really, with him and another player having some out-of-game character RP in private messages without me knowing about it. Like, if I wouldn't have checked in any other server where the other player was talking about the topic, I would have never known about it. Not that big of a deal, but it took me by surprise. Didn't even know if I should make it canon or not, but I digress. After the second character is revealed, this is where things go downhill. First of all, his characters are really not that interesting, at least for me. Most of the time not showing any emotions other than complete seriousness, smugness against everyone that is having some trouble fighting him, or complete irreverence. This wasn't that apparent in his first character, really, but oh boy did this one check all the boxes like a checklist. I know I could sound like a douchebag when writing that, but it was really hard for me to try to make emotional or interesting moments, and him wasn't showing anything aside from all that I mentioned earlier. Eventually, his first character gets revived, and a biomechanical monster not giving him any freedom, only being controlled totally. And when he was getting changed in the surgical bed with robots with metal saws for hands and directly a creepy doctor who talked about him going to be forgetting everything, he didn't show anything aside from being irreverent. Like no fears, no doubts, nothing, only F you with probably nicer words. This is kind of where I noticed that he only played that kind of character, only irreverent with two different ways of reacting to anything. Going to make it short and compile other things that I remember right now about this. It kind of goes from his two characters after replacing the second one with another one for story reasons. His character by mechanics or mentally distraught by a severe backfire from his mental ability. In narrative terms, he should be extremely emotionally damaged to the point of just outright emotionally breaking. But he decided not to make his character look weak and decided that he didn't feel anything, while just dropping to the floor. Kinda checks out as a mental breakdown, but still, this wasn't much of a mental stop, but an emotional hit. His character got implemented with a neuronal kill switch and didn't really show much worrisome about the probability of instantly dying. Instead, he was really irreverent and throwing bad words at the big enemy that did that to him. Oh man, this sounds very similar to a player I had in my group where all they said was, F you, I don't want to hit that, F you. Oh man, this is bringing up some pass moment, but I'll continue on with the story. After getting a power that let him reduce all incoming damage, he just outright started to not care for who to make angry or to treat well. They went into a place where people kept an artifact from the past that they cared so much. Another PC took it by mistake, activating it, and after everyone got peed off, he didn't care, and got peeved at them like he didn't care to fight everyone in the place. This also applies to NPCs, like one who was the leader of the group they were working for. He, for some reason, just started to insult him without any care in the world, because he was probably invincible at that moment. In retrospective, he wasn't, but I didn't want to be bad with him, so I let it slide. His third character was literally the same as the second, and for lore reasons, he kept inventing on the spot without him ever telling me his backstory. He somehow knew everything about the big problems the group was facing and the big bad villains that had been around from time to time, even reacting like his character knew those people even when it was his first time seeing them. His third character was smug as heck, and irreverent as always, never showing any piece of fear or anything aside from being an a-hole with everyone around him who was in the wrong. Like, my game had most people having different opinions on the same big story, and he was always ready to outright tell them that they were in the wrong, without even thinking for a second how their lives worked. This happened when he was a prisoner with all the other PCs in cells at this moment. The chief in command who talked to him let him fight him to have a chance for the others to escape. And after a quick combat, where he lost fair and square, he still kept his attitude of not showing any respect, even while not being in the correct moment to be disrespectful. I swear, guys, I know I'm breaking it, but I swear to a T sounds exactly like the problem player I had in my group, okay? Great person outside of the game, but in the game, oh man. Yeah, this sounds like them to a T, and just as a glimpse into the future, I'm just probably going to say this is probably it is a difference in expectations. That's what I'm seeing so far. It's just he expected a game style one ways, and the OP wanted a game style the other ways. But let's finish this story out, and how many times can I say but like that? Following the defeat, his character got tortured, and then he revealed that this character was trained by his second PC without him never telling me about this. This was a big problem because I haven't mentioned it, but the third PC came from a family that was already on edge after losing a daughter. The father didn't want to lose another son, and if he knew his son was getting trained by a dude with an axe, well, he wasn't going to be okay with that at all. So I didn't have any choice but let it slide because I didn't want to stop the session in the middle of the moment. He gets tortured, and even after getting his butt beat, he didn't show remorse at all, spitting on teeth like nothing, even after losing an ear. They still get their exit, and the group goes back to a place where they can rest, with the third PC already in a coma because of the amount of trauma. There's a lot more that I could talk about, like the fact he doesn't care about the tone of the game. We were playing a 90s cartoon style game where things are lighthearted. He's threatening NPCs and swearing constantly. We are playing D&D with Zelda Breath of the Wild homebrew. He is also edgy as heck, constantly swearing and describing blood even when I want to avoid describing that. We are playing a kind of signalist style game where PCs are mostly normal people trapped in a space station. His character is like a superhero, doing acrobatic movements and double slashing, only to end with him throwing himself at a big meat of a monster at the end. So, what did I learn from this? I didn't want to keep running games for him. This is probably my biggest rant about something that I had on my chest for a while, and it's really cathartic for me to say everything without stopping myself. I'm tired of just not having fun because of him. He isn't a bad person at all, he just isn't compatible with what I'm looking to make. Maybe some person will give him more consequences or other stuff, but me, I'm not sure really. Thanks for reading, have a good day/night. And you too, OP, thank you for posting so I could read this story, I guess. Something like that. You know, credit to everybody I've ever read a story about, and thanks to all of them. But thank you, OP, for writing this. Now, where do I even begin? Like I said earlier, the main problem here is just a difference in expectations. The OP wants a certain style of game, and this guy wants a different style of game, and that's about it. This is probably sit down at session 0 or talk with them outside the game and just just say what type of game you want, and if that doesn't work, then go your separate ways. It's not fun playing in a campaign where you're not going to have fun, and it's not fun running a campaign where someone lighthearted and they're just swearing and talking about blood and all that, and it's like, come on dude, match the tone at least. Because that in turn was ruining the fun for the OP, and they did the right thing. They weren't having fun, so they just cut out the part that was making things unfun. Again, like everybody always says, and like I'm going to say, some people might be great friends. They just might really suck at playing TTRPGs with, which in turn sucks in of itself, but you want to have fun with your hobby. So what can I say? Do your session zeros. Talk about what kind of campaign you want to run before you run it. And make sure, guys, you can still have fun even if it's not your directly preferred playstyle. And if you're not having fun, speak up about it. Talk to them. Again, not a rule zero thing, but you just talk to them outside the game, and then maybe you guys can search through TTRPGs and find something that you guys can enjoy together. And let's move on to our final story. Our last story comes from And You Will Be Cured. Now this is the story all about how I encountered that player, TM. I, 30F, love D&D. After my main campaign has ended abruptly, I enjoy being a DM here and there. Even have a small and sweet campaign of my own. I still miss actually playing myself, so I jumped on the opportunity. The group was a mix of friends, all male. This is important, I promise. Who offered me a seat. I brought my favorite character, a female dragonborn barbarian with the charisma of a brick wall. And then there was Andy. This was my first time meeting Andy in person. Andy was a first-time player, and asked the party to help him with character creation on the spot. I want to say real quick, but if you're showing up to play, maybe get with the DM beforehand and make your character before you play, unless the system you're playing in is really fast at making characters. Because making a character, depending on how detailed you want it, can take anywhere. You can make one fairly quick in like 10 minutes, but if you want a lot of work put into them, it could take anywhere up to an hour. And that's an hour of time the DM has to spend with the player, which means everyone else is kind of just sitting around twiddling their thumb. But if everyone else hopped in and helped them, then more power to him. He arrived late, ignored my greetings entirely, although he greeted all his male friends, and sat down with another player to build him a character. A drow warlock whose hobbies included enslaving people and sulking in the darkness of his heart. Daring today, Ari. Before the start of the game, I ducked out to the bathroom, leaving my stuff at the table, my character sheet, my dragon mini, dice, etc. I returned 2 minutes later to find Andy planted in my seat with all my stuff in front of him, chatting with his buddy next to him. My, "Hey, that's my spot," was met with radio silence. He kept nonchalantly listening to his buddy, paying no attention to me. Another player, bless their soul, scrambled to give me their chair. I should have left then, but I didn't. I was intrigued. I was hooked. But also, I never fully clicked with the story after that, though I gave it my best shot, and what was followed was pure entertainment. From the scientific point of view, obviously. Every time my sweet dumb dragonborn did basically anything, raging in combat, arguing with a noble quest giver, interacting with other characters, Andy snorted, classic woman moment. During a tense negotiation, Andy announced, "I'm bored. DM, can I sacrifice a kid to my goddess?" The DM, to his minimal credit, said, "No children, but there's sheep outside the city?" We had to stop the negotiations for Andy to roll perception and find some poor sheep. After nearly dying in his first ever combat, Andy declared, "I'm skipping the next encounter. Someone loot the bodies for me." He then spent the next fight on his phone while the rest of us actually played D&D. So I left after our session ended early. I strongly believe that I was not the only one who was annoyed with all of this, but they said nothing. Andy left the same way he came, not acknowledging me in any way, and the DM was basically enabling him all this time. Am I right? I'm not returning to this table, but at least I was morally entertained for one session, and I hope so were you while reading this. UPD. Hey guys, thank you so much for the support, and rest assured, I made the DM aware of why I am not returning to the table. Yes, I did this only after the session and not during, since I did not feel like making a scene in the middle of the session. The battle without Andy's involvement was actually pretty decent, but not enough for me to say. The DM said that he will consider my reasoning, however, I am not really interested in knowing if this is something he acted upon. Oh, Andy. First time player, character isn't super overpowered or anything, immediately loses interest. First of all, I mean, I don't want to say horrible person, but you see someone stuff at an empty chair and you're just going to sit there, like, even and then not acknowledge him at all. Like, what is this? What are you, Andy? An incel? I guess that's the right word. It's not even that player. That player feels like a smug know-it-all. I would believe that's what a DAT player is. It's been a while. My TTRPG vocabulary is kind of out of the loop, but I'm pretty sure a DAT player is like a smug know-it-all who's like center of attention and stuff like that. They're just a narcissistic trying to not ruin everyone's fun directly, but always usually end up doing. That's what I think a DAT player is. I think. I might be incredibly wrong. Let me know what a DAT player is in the comments. But the whole, like, taking someone's chair, just ignoring them over and over again. The losing the first fight, or not losing, but going down the first fight, and then not wanting to participate in the second fight. I did have a player who was somewhat similar, but not directly the same. But anytime there wasn't combat, and especially when it wasn't their turn in combat, they would get on their phone and like play a game or whatever, not focus on all. They're just like, word for word just said, and just let me know when it's my turn. And that's it. That's all they wanted. They just wanted to play their turn in combat and pass. I'm like, to me, part of the fun is watching what happens to your teammates, what the enemies are doing. You can't just like ignore what is happening in the fight and then get to your turn and expect to know what to do. Like, yes, sometimes you're a fighter and you're just going to keep hitting the person in front of you. But sometimes, you know, depending on the DM, stuff's going to happen mid-fight. So you have to constantly be aware. It also makes your turn go over smoothly if you plan what you're going to do beforehand as you're watching stuff unfold. So that also can really help. So just ignoring everything, especially that second fight, just ignoring it entirely, just going on your phone, that's another person out of the party. Why even show up then? Why even play the game? You might as well just go home at that point. But you know, the OP made the right call. They talked with the DM after the session. You know, if there's something mildly annoying, but it's not that big. Like, if something's extremely rampant and abhorrent, don't be afraid to speak up in the middle of the session or even just send a message to the DM. Sometimes I say, you know, just pick up your stuff and leave. If it might seem like an a-hole move, but if you're not comfortable with it and no one's paying attention, then you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to sit through that. Just go, okay? And if they're your friends, then they should understand why, okay? And if not, maybe you should find some new friends. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a little gobbledygook. And thank you everybody for your stories. Thank you for watching, and be good people. Have your session zeros. Talk it out. Even if it's in a message, or even if it's one-on-one with the DM or your friend that's in the group. Talk it out. Never suffer in silence. And that is all the stories and advice I have for you today. Comment down below which story was your favorite. Or if there's any advice, or if there's, maybe you disagreed with me on something, or maybe if you have your own advice to give. I have all my social media in the description, and that's it. So I hope you guys have a lap of a day. May your adventures be free of awful people.